How's it, guys? This is Dayvy FPL and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video we're going to be taking a return to the wildcard drafts. Been quite a lot of news that has come out this week which might make you want to use your wildcard. So this is a perfectly good draft if you do. You can also look at this for maybe a team that you want to look to bring in with those free transfers if you don't have the wildcard or have used it. So I think there's going to be quite a lot of value in this video and hopefully you do enjoy it. So if that's something you're interested in, sit back, relax and let's get into it. So a new season calls for a new sponsor, but here on the Dayvy FPL channel, we like our old. So I've brought back the old sponsor, OneFootball, but with a completely new revamped app. Yes, OneFootball has gone over a complete marketing revamp, new logo, new everything. I've checked it out, looks really good. They kind of took the old app, but just made it better. So I'm really appreciative of that. If you want to go check them out, link down in the description below to go download the app. If you don't know who they are, they're the biggest app on iOS and Android. So go check them out. I personally use them, so I can recommend them from a personal level. So before we get into the wildcard draft, one of the most important aspects of a wildcard is that team value. So I'm going to be showing you the team value that I'm working with personally. So what I did was I went into my transfers, took all the players out, and this was the selling value of those players that I currently have. So not the best team value in the world there, so I'm pretty sure all of you will be able to afford this draft. If you do have a lot better team value, what you can do is just simply use it for upgrades, maybe in defense, maybe in the forward department, wherever you please. I'm going to give you a draft. It's going to act more of a template as it's quite an out there draft. So just use it as a template, vary it to your own liking, and that should give you a very good wildcard draft. So this is the team value. Hopefully your team value is not too much lower than mine. Otherwise you won't be able to afford this draft, but I'm pretty sure most of you will. So something that has come out in the news that we've been talking about, maybe why you want to use your wildcard, is the whole Aston Villa versus Newcastle postponement. So if you haven't been looking at the news recently, Aston Villa versus Newcastle has been postponed for game week 11. Now, there's been no news of when this game is actually going to be played. Some rumors that it could still happen next midweek, which could still fit in game week 11. So if that happens, nothing to stress about there. This game's simply just going to be moved on a couple of days, but still will be within game week 11. But unfortunately, I can't even tell you if it's going to be. Only the Premier League will know that, and I don't think we're going to be getting news anytime soon. Maybe a little bit later in the week, we will hear about what's actually going to be happening due to tests having to be performed at Newcastle to make sure that everything is up to scratch there, but unfortunately, as I said, that's going to come on late in the week, and hopefully it comes before the deadline. If it doesn't, we're just going to have to roll with it. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are stuck with triple and double Newcastle and Aston Villa players, so don't worry too much. I think we're all in the same boat here. However, if you do have your wild card and you want to use this as an advantage over those players that don't have a wild card, then this could be one of the situations you go into. What I would kind of recommend is maybe don't use the wild card chip right now, maybe wait for a little bit more news to come out, maybe on Friday or Saturday morning. You can use that chip. I know it's a little bit close to the deadline, but that way you get the most news as possible, and maybe even with some couple of free transfers you'll be able to make a starting 11, and then you literally have to use the wild card and you can save it for a little bit later on. But this is basically the big news that's come out, so I just wanted to address it as it is a main influence of the wildcard draft, and I won't be including any Newcastle or Villa players in this wildcard draft, but I'll be talking and addressing that in a little bit's time. So this is the wildcard draft that I've come up with to address the whole Villa and Newcastle situation. Like I said, no Villa or Newcastle players in this draft. There are players from both teams that I would like to have. For example, Callum Wilson, I think is a great option for that budget forward department, but then also Jack Grealish. So if news comes out that Villa versus Newcastle game is going to be moved later on in the week, but still in game week 11, I would probably bring in Jack Grealish. I think that is a great option, great value, having a really good season. So I would probably favor him. What you could do is either upgrade JOTA to him or downgrade Mahrez to Jack Grealish. I just think it's such a good option, and that's going to be a great shot, especially with those lovely Villa fixtures that they have. You could also look at Callum Wilson. I think that I would look at him maybe over Che Adams if I could afford him, as I think that from an attacking point of view is a great shot there. Newcastle, their next four look really good, so I think a couple of FPL points are going to come out from there. So what we'll be doing is we'll be running through this team position by position, and I'll be addressing the kind of close calls or the decisions made in each of those departments as I go along. So I've got Meslier and Steer here. Steer, you can go for any 4.0 keeper. I would probably recommend not going for Steer, and that's why I've included it in here so I can address this point. But I was stuck basically with having triple Aston Villa with Watkins and then a double up in goal of Steer and Martinez. So he was kind of blocking off that triple Aston Villa threat, so I wouldn't recommend having Steer. I would just go for any other 4.0 keeper that you want, as they're probably not going to play too much. And then we've got Meslier here from Leeds, as I think that Leeds are looking a little bit better defensively from the start of the season, and I think he's a great shout for that occasional clean sheet, and he also comes in quite cheap. There's another relegation kind of battler of Johnston that you could go for from West Bromwich Albion. Looks like quite an assured keeper, but then there are also the other alternatives such as McCarthy from Southampton. I just have Walker Peters here from an attacking point of view. I think he offers a little bit more than McCarthy, but any of those kind of 4.5 keepers are good. The rest of the defense, something that you're probably going to be a little bit surprised at is that I don't include a Man City defender here. That's simply just because I think that we've seen over this week, especially with the Champions League, there's going to be so much rotation with that defense that it's kind of hard to predict who's going to start. I think that Kyle Walker is probably the most assured option to go for. So if you are looking for a Man City defender, I would look at him. But there are other options such as Ruben Diaz and Cancelo. And I don't even know if Cancelo or Ruben Diaz is going to start at this point. So what I've done is I've excluded them and I've included Reece James. 5.1 million, just a good kind of price for a Chelsea defender who's getting forward loads. I think over the entire season, if Reece James gets a continued amount of starts, I think from an attacking point of view and a defensive point of view, he's going to be able to exceed a Cancelo or Ruben Diaz. So that's why I've included him here. I think at 5.1, he looks like a great value option, especially because he's actually starting. I kind of was under speculation that Azpilicueta would occasionally start, but that's not been the case. Reece James seems like it's his spot to lose, and I've included the double up of that Chelsea defense with Chilwell here, because from a defensive point of view and a clean sheet point of view, they've been getting the goods. And I mean, from an attacking point of view, I don't think it's going to get much better than Chilwell and Reece James this season. I've included some other alternative cheap options here. I've gone for Kilman. Although he lost his place this weekend, I still think he could be quite an assured option for the occasional start here. Maybe if Wolves had a really good fixture, I would just start him, but otherwise, he's simply just going to be on my bench. And I don't want to include Mitchell here from Crystal Palace, as it also looks like he's lost his spot. And then I've just gone for Charlie Taylor and Kyle Walker Peters because rotation wise they look quite good, and I think when we need a third defender or fourth defender, they can pop in and get the occasional clean sheet and attacking threat. Going on to the midfield is where the excitement really happens. So what I've done here, I've gone double Liverpool and I've got double City. We've seen kind of a regression towards previous seasons when we included the two best sides assets, Liverpool and Man City. So that's exactly what I've done here. Both teams have a really nice run of fixtures coming up. I think that if you were to kind of choose which options to go for and what to build your team around from a template point of view, I don't think you can ignore Kevin De Bruyne. Had a rest in the Champions League this week, so he should be raring to go for Fulham, and I think he's honestly probably the best captaincy option this week. And then also in the next three, they face West Bromwich Albion and Fulham at home. So great fixtures there from a Man City point of view. Also think that Liverpool have great fixtures, and that's why I've included Salah and Diego Jota here. So Diego Jota, a great value there at 6.8. We've spoken about him in tons of detail, so go check out the preview for Game Week 11 if you have not, linked down in the description below. I've also gone for Fernandes here as he's ticking along nicely, getting a lot of those points, and from a United point of view, definitely the main talisman there. So if a goal comes from them, he usually is involved, and that's why I've kept him here, as I still think he provides some good value at 10.7. Mahrez is probably the surprise pick that I have included. I think Mahrez is showing us, like previous seasons, basically you just got to keep him in your squad. He's not going to start every game, but when he does, he's got a good attacking threat. I know this might seem quite knee-jerk after his hat-trick on the weekend, but I still think Mahrez is a great shout to go for. And Man City attack at 8.3 looks to be quite good value. It just, you kind of just have to hope he starts, but even if he doesn't start, I still think he has quite an attacking threat. The striker department is a lot less entertaining. Unfortunately, we have had to go on quite budget here to afford this midfield. I think it's quite a good midfield, but maybe we are kind of sacrificing some threat in the attacking department from a forward point of view. Calvert-Lewin is not in this draft. Unfortunately, I couldn't squeeze him in, but that's definitely someone that I would be looking at keeping if you still do own him, especially if you have a lot of value. I just thought that Everton right now aren't playing at their best, so I'm not really looking at him for the upcoming game weeks because their fixtures are getting a lot tougher. So I've gone for Brewster here. Brewster's pretty much not going to start at all unless Sheffield United have a really good fixture. He's coming off the bench recently, has kind of lost his place at that striker position, so I'm not expecting too much from him, but at 4.5, I think that's perfectly fine. Then the other two strikers that I've gone for are Bamford and Che Adams. So Che Adams is a little bit of an interesting one because if you remember in the Game Week 11 preview, when I was talking about those budget striker options, I said that Che Adams is overshooting or overperforming his XG. While Danny Ings is still out, I think that Adams provides a perfectly good option. Even when Danny Ings comes back from his injury, still a great shout to go for. And at 5.9 million, not too much risk in there. He's performing quite well recently over the last 5 game weeks. So I've just slotted him here as I needed kind of a cheap striker. And then I've gone for Bamford as well. So Bamford is probably one of the best value budget forwards, especially when you look at those stats. So we spoke about Bamford in depth as well in the preview. So you can, if you go watch that video, you'll perfectly understand why Bamford is in this lineup. So I would recommend using this as a template. I've kind of gone a little bit out the box here with picks such as Mahrez going for a 5 stack midfield is also quite interesting. And then also going for that double up in that Chelsea defense. I'm a little bit more assured of that double up with the Chelsea defense than I am with including a Man City defender, because I think that that's going to lead to an annoyance in the future if they are benched. I mean, their centre backs are absolutely stacked with Nathan Ake coming back from his injury, and even on those left and right back positions, they've still got a lot of options. So just keep your eyes on that, and that's why I've included Reece James instead of maybe a Cancelo or a Ruben Diaz. So this is basically a wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like it if you did, and subscribe if you're new or have not subscribed yet. I'll be checking you guys tomorrow for the team selection when we go over this whole news of Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Hopefully we have a couple of news stories about that and a potential date for when that game is going to be played. But even if it's not, we're still going to be having the video up. So I'll be also checking you guys on my Twitter at DayvyFPL, and I'll be signing off. It's been DayvyFPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.